Today's chat is brought to you by the support of all our Twitch subscribers. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through the Twitch platform, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the website and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a subscriber of the FFC and gaining access to some exclusive features over in the Discord server, please be sure to visit our Twitch account and click on the subscribe button. If you're an Amazon Prime member, remember that you do have a free subscription to Twitch every month that can be used for this. And for those of you who are already subscribers, thank you again for your generosity.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat. Explore together.
Welcome to Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on March 27th, 2020, over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat as we continue our discussion over the weapons of Season of Dawn. This particular episode will serve as what we have come to call the advanced session of the week's exploration. Congratulations to those who signed up for a deeper dive. Before we go any further, however, let's run through a quick introduction of who all we have with us on the show. As always, this is your host, Gr4veM1st.
And this is me. Green-eyed music lover.
I was about to say, did you just forget?
Oh my god.
And this is me. I'm like,
you guys,
awesome.
you ask if I have these like titles and names that I've given myself off the top of my head. If you've ever wondered,
Green, are
yes,
you okay?
I am fine. I have been in isolation for so many days. I'm fine. I'm fine.
But definitely not least, in the hot seat as guest goes, we have our good friend Gravemind. Grave, how are you doing? Do you know who you are? Do you know where you are?
No.
I need an adult. I am an adult.
Hi, I'm the Gravemind, and I am the monument to a few more of your sins.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I also a few of your sins last time. Now a few more.
A few more.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
See, and still be growing.
Oh god.
I'll
This
be
is
going
gonna-
to one these days.
Oh my god. This is gonna be a thing, isn't it? It's gonna be a thing.
Oh, it's definitely
Well,
going to be a thing.
as you can probably tell, Green and Grave are eager to continue the discussion, so I'll let them get right into it.
So, Gravemind, how similar are the obelisks to actual Gravemind from... Never mind, I don't want to go there. I
Nope.
really actually don't. I don't want to go there.
I don't like how
Although-
like how you're assuming they have sentience.
Because they totally do. Because
No.
we set boundaries from them.
So, yeah, so last time on the show, we actually talked about a lot more of like the usefulness of the different time lost weapons and the roles with a smidge, a spattering of the actual lore tied into it and some theories. This time I actually want to kind of go through the reading of the different things and just get a better feel for the actual lore tied to these weapons specifically. A lot of the weapons their lore's been around for quite a while, so it's not necessarily tied to the season per se, but there are some newer ones that do have new entries for us to dive into. And so, the breakdown that I want to do for this, I would like for Blue to read at some point, but Blue is in the middle of the match, so I'm going to try to catch him in between matches when he's loading in. So let's have Grave, if you will read the first one for Breachlight, and we can do a little bit of discussion on that, and then we'll do... How many minutes do you have? I can't see your timer on your stream.
8.
8 minutes. All right, so we're going to try. Blue is playing
We're gonna try.
PvP.
I like how
right
this.
here.
It's like
Play it by here. We're fine.
Yeah. So, go forward on Breachlight for me.
Okay. The flavor text of Breachlight is: it has been melted and reforged many times. The War tab It reads as follows. I find it odd, the cycle we are in. I have died many times, reborn anew, the fight pulsing through my veins. Vex, with your mind shared, must also know the sensation. Fighting to die, dying of the fight. And over. I wonder what they know that I do not. Did their calculations ever have them toward their point? We share this perpetual sequence in our encounters, and there is no common ground outside of our mutual past. I die again. The anger rises. I fight back harder, wiping out the entire squadron with their units. More arrive. I die again, ready for my resurrection. Saint 14.
So this one's nice because it's actually one of Saint's weapons in particular, one of the newer lore cards for the season too. A breach, if you guys remember from D1, the Cabal breached the Dreadnought by basically ramming their ship into it. So a breach is a break into an area, and breach light would be, this is kind of taken on an interpretation of the flavor text a little bit, is I'm thinking like a welding cutter that's cutting through like a door. So the breach light is the light that you see of that welder coming through a little bit. So that's a little bit of an interpretation on it. What are your guys' feelings on that? If you think I'm way off base, or it's very possible that that could be it.
No, I think that's accurate.
Yeah,
I mean, or at least along the lines of something.
I think it's interesting that so far, like all these weapons I'm talking about are all modeled after parallel. So it kind of lends into how much we meant to Saint 14 when we first met him, gave him the purpose. And he modeled all these other weapons after.
Yeah. I mean, this is just kind of a description of how he's going through his own things. It's just a very basic Guardian description. I don't know if there's anything in the lore card itself besides that series of descriptions.
It does offer his own philosophy regarding the Vex, like how we're not so different from them in that sense.
And I think that ties into kind of Green what you were talking about with the definition of breach, because not only is breach like the actual breaking into a wall, or it's actually a gap in a wall, barrier, or defense that is usually made by an attack from an enemy. But it also, another definition of breach is like a breach of contract, which is when you break or fail to observe a law, agreement, or code. So I think that could be another kind of nod there to to what Saint's talking about, is that he's looking for that breach, if you will.
He's looking for the break in the whole
Vex.
thing.
Yeah, because like the Vex form a wall, basically a mental wall with all their minds, the network. And so if he's looking to find a breach in that network, then that's what the light.
He's looking for a hole in the wall,
right?
And if he doesn't find one, he's gonna punch. He's gonna make one. He's gonna punch it,
or headbutt it, or grab a goblin and wrap it around it and then headbutt it.
Well, that too.
Or then pick up a pigeon.
No, he won't headbutt
and then
the
let
pigeon.
me pet it.
And then
I didn't say he'd
you
pick
do not.
it up.
You do not. This is not like Bud.
He's going to pet the pigeon.
Was it gun not like Bud?
Gun not like Bud. I love that. I love that he's saying as your trials heighten.
Speaking of that, we have Steelfeather Repeater. Blue, do you want to read this one since your match just ended?
Yeah, Steelfeather. Steelfeather actually, like, I really like the name of it too. The entry is there. Oh wait, hang on. Am I reading the right one?
There's strength and delicate things.
Yes, there is strength and delicate things. I feel the recoil of the weapon and loosen my grip. The more I fight it, the more it fights me. I choose to let it lead. It finds the milky cores and bursts them with a satisfying combustion, radiolarian fluid glinting in the light. It guides me as I support it. We work in tandem, a brilliant dance of destruction, leaving nothing but ruin in our wake. Nothing can stop this union. Saint 14.
It's a very accurate description of what it's like to fly around home.
Yeah, that's really, yeah. And you know, again, with, you know, Green, like what you were talking about with the breach light, with the name Steel Feather, it's the combination of like something that is strong but delicate. There's strong, and that's the, you know, the flavor text, strength and delicacy. A feather is very delicate, but steel is not. And so if you have a steel feather, it's a delicate item, but that has strength to it.
I mean, if it's a steel feather, it's still gonna hurt if it hits you. It's probably gonna hurt worse if it cuts you.
Right, but that's the point too, right? I mean, what actually that reminds me of is like I think it's Assassin's Creed 3, where you actually get the throwing knives that are like feathers.
The fletches.
Yeah. And they're actually designed to be, they kind of look like feathers. And it's, you get that a lot with like, as you get more advanced craftsmanship within metalworking, you'll have a lot of times where your blades will have that kind of that filigree looking or filigree pattern to them. Damascus steel, for example, has the inlaid, kind of almost like oil on water type thing.
It's folded. It's like waves upon the sand kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's a very unique thing to Damascus steel. Is that particular? It's almost like a wood grain to the metal. It's if you don't know what I'm talking about, I really encourage you, go look up Damascus steel. It is beautiful metal. It's also extremely durable and very, very expensive to make. There's a reason that swords with Damascus steel are very sought after.
Yes, katanas and all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Black Scorpion back in the first episode for the introduction episode earlier this week, or if you're in the chat tonight, earlier, about an hour and a half ago. The Black Scorpion does not have any lore entry, like a typical one. It does have flavor text, and it is mainly just I attack from the shadows, I never miss. Pretty easy to say, considering like scorpions, how scorpions work, and terrifying.
Philosophy of how Weiss, like flavor text on Weiss weapons are. Like they're very, they have a certain motif about poison animals. Whatnot. Yeah,
this kind of that green, that's like snake venom aspect to it for sure. All right, so Martyr's Retribution is the next one that we have. That is from Mars. That is the grenade launcher that has lore. And in Martyr's Retribution, it says, that which returns from the void will always seek revenge. Which, considering how many times I've been killed by this gun, is fairly accurate.
Well, it's also a martyr.
Also that. So the actual text reads, there seems to be no end to them. No matter how many I destroy, there are always more. An infinite, ceaselessly multiplying array of circuits and fluid. New units replace their ruined predecessors, forming out of sapphire transmat clouds. They want me dead. They won't stop until I meet my demise. They perish. For all their vast knowledge, they seem to have one blind spot. They should know by now. I also want them dead. And I won't stop either. Saint 14. Saint 14, a titan, stubborn. Gonna keep hitting. Gonna keep popping a bubble. Going to keep going until they figure out how to get the Martyr Mind. If you guys remember, Martyr Mind was the one who actually killed, quote-unquote, Saint 14.
It's also the one made specifically to kill Saint
14.
And literally no one else.
And so we have the Martyr's Retribution now. Surprise.
I'm starting to get a bigger picture of Saint and his efforts to fight off the Vex during his time in the Infinite Forest, like during all this. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get like a bigger idea of what exactly he's been doing during this, and that's killing Vex, obviously.
Well, he's been killing Vex, but he's also been, I don't know. With him, I think there's less of a grand plan as there is with like Osiris, right? Osiris has, or at least Osiris acts like he has a plan, at least. I'm still not entirely sold that Osiris has a plan, though.
I think, well, I'm not going to comment on that.
We're going to get into that in a few weeks.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that with Trials and Tribulations especially. But with Martyr's Retribution, I find the name extremely interesting because, so like a martyr is someone who dies for, their
cause,
belief or a cause, right? And if you look at the definition of retribution is punishment inflicted on someone as vengeance for a wrong or criminal act. So it's revenge for the sake of justice. Not just so like there's a difference between revenge and retribution in the sense that revenge is usually not it's not necessarily described with a moral undertone. Retribution is a moral response to a action taken that was incorrect, I guess would be the simplest way. So, but if you have a martyr's retribution, I'm curious, do you think that means that it's because the martyr's dead, right?
Right. Well, the martyr is a guardian, so the martyr is not dead.
Well, but I guess that's true, yeah. I was just thinking like in the general combination of those two terms.
Right.
Also,
and
can a guardian be a martyr?
Yes. The guardian can still die for a cause, and Saint in particular can be a martyr. Saint was a martyr for so stinking long, until we obviously saved him from the corridors of time, which is,
which begs the question of, if you save a martyr from death, is it still a martyr?
I mean, he was...
Or do you become a martyr saving the person?
I think it really depends on whether or not the including of being dead is necessary for the aspect of martyr. Whether or not... I mean, you can still be I don't know. You can act like a martyr and be alive. That's correct. Not like you can't.
That is true. There is a statement, or a phrase about that. But I mean, I guess my point, kind of sort of tongue in cheek point there, is like, if you prevent the person from dying for the cause, I'm not saying that
actually a martyr.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you would. They're still defending a cause. Like, I'm not saying that. It just makes me wonder when you say martyr's retribution. I mean, a martyr is someone. If a guardian would be a martyr, to kind of go down the path of this logic, it would be the person who actually returned to light. It would be a true death, because they usually, the reason why is because a martyr believes so strongly in that particular cause or their particular faith that they are willing to pay the ultimate price for that.
Which is accurate for really Saint, I think, more than anybody. Because Saint...
I would agree with that. Yeah, because Saint was actually, until we intervened, Saint actually did pay the full price.
Right.
Which then goes back to my head-aching philosophy question of, if you negate the death... It's
wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
It totally is. Because to me, that's the first thing that comes to mind, is like, if you save the martyr from death over the cause, does that lessen his or nobleness sacrifice
by doing it? No. No takesy backsies.
You may continue, Green. You win this argument.
Grave, you're up. Let's move on to Line in the Sand.
Oh boy. Oh man, oh god. Anyway. The flavor text for A Line in the Sand is no farther. The Lore tab reads as follows. The Vex are oppressive. Minotaurs fall over themselves to get the jump on me. I've exhausted my options. I need to use the distance to my advantage. Peer out over the rock's edge. They seem to have lost me in the scuffle. The gentle hum begins, and I feel my weapon charging begins. I take out 2 with the first shot, another 2 with the next. They scatter now, confused and irate. They seek me out desperately. All I can offer is another barrage that depletes their numbers, creates more scrap. The last 2 couldn't get within 10 meters of me. It's a small victory, and that alone was more. It helps us set boundaries. Safe work. Does he have a roll with ricochet rounds? Like, what? When your fusion pierces multiple targets?
Actually, a lot of them will do that. If you line people, go into a private match, take a bunch of friends, and line them up, and then headshot the one in the front, and just have them all in line, you will actually overpenetrate and kill multiple targets at the same shot. You can do that with certain bows. You can do it with certain fusion rifles too.
I know you can do that with Super Simulant, but I didn't know other one did that.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember the one that we used to use. Arbalist will do it too.
Really, Arbalist?
I think so. I'm trying to remember if they've nerfed it and whatnot. But yeah, you can actually overpenetrate targets and continue through, I believe, up to like 6. It just really depends on the weapon strength and how far away you are. But yeah, this is actually a real thing you can do in game. High impact fusions will. Thank you, Pins.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So interesting to know that Saint 14 uses a fusion. I don't know. I always thought of him. Shotgun.
Well,
Yeah,
and remember
too.
Remember too, from like the original Saint 14 card, he has a Vex weaponry. He tells Geppetto to ready his Vex weaponry or his Vex arsenal or something. Like, I mean,
right.
Hold on. Infested potato. Sleeper will kill the enemy in front of you and kill the dragon. You ain't going right.
I mean, it's true. Oh, Sleeper. Bank shots. I still want to see somebody. This is, if you are a listener and you are fun, like to do bank shots and stuff like that, I want to see a listener bank shot Sleeper through a hallway on any PvP map and hit 3 different people that way. Like, it has to bank off of multiple walls and hit 3 people. Make this clip happen.
Have you ever played the Sleeper Roulette, where you
is it like Battleships?
And, oh no!
Because that's a fun one to play.
Sleeper Roulette is when you get you get a bunch of people inside War Dawn, and they all have Sleeper Simulant, and they shoot.
God!
They shoot the shield inside War Dawn. It's not.
Does it work with Hardlight too? I want to see Hardlight do this.
Yes, it does work.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Pretty much any gun with ricochet rounds, but Sleeper Simulant is the fun.
That's funny. I like it. I like it a lot. So is there anything from this card in particular that we learn about Saint or about his battle against the Vex? It's more lamenting, more about what's going on.
It's more. I feel like it's more of it's just a general skirmish that he was like a small skirmish, and we don't really see a whole lot. When we think of Saint 14, we think of him in these big battles like Twilight Gap, and and his efforts to bring down the different houses. But in these small skirmishes, we really associate him, and him using linear fusion to take out this small group of Vex kind of makes sense.
I do find it interesting that Saint is sitting in here, and he's not only is he there's descriptions of what's going on, but he's also commentating on it.
Yeah,
it helps to set boundaries.
It helps to set boundaries.
I just want him to draw a line in the sand.
And like a literal line in the sand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then like a Vex like steps over and he backs up, draws number, then steps forward.
100%.
Now, all I can think of is Saint 14 in the Alamo.
I mean, you don't want to forget.
No, you do not.
No.
The weapon chart. Never mind. Phrasing.
Yep. Help. Okay, so I'm going to take the next one because Blue's mid-match. Alright, so I'm going to take Patron of Lost Causes, which is a scout rifle. And I'm excited to hear Blue's thoughts on this one after we get through it. So,
yeah, this is a fun one.
The flavor text says, there is a rough engraving on its side. Quote, in memoriam, end quote. My name is Saint 14. The speaker was my father. Guardians do not have true fathers. Some might say guardians do not have true family. We are born with no one but our ghost, and we find our way to something more. I was lucky to find my way to a family I chose for myself. I was drawn to the speaker because of the vision he had for the city. He helped me understand that we fight not for the sake of fighting, but for the sake of the people. He taught me to imagine a day where we might put down our weapons, and that reaching that day would be our greatest victory yet. I have worked for that day all my life. The speaker was a leader in this city. He was here at its formation. He helped establish the consensus. Most importantly, he was a figure that people could recognize and trust. Because of him, that is what I aspire to be as well. A familiar face who reminds people that they are safe, that they are taken care of. It is painful for me, and for all of us, that we could not be there during the speaker's last moments. As guardians, it is the nature of our long lives that we see many people die. We hope that through our service we can give them peaceful death. At the very least, we know that the speaker died bravely. We know that he died with the city, the people, and the traveler in his mind. We know that his last moments were a testament to everything the city stands for, bravery in the face of adversity, and dedication to our principles when faced with those who would do us harm. We cannot reclaim what we have lost. There will always be a void that the speaker once filled. We cannot replace him. But I hope someday we may find someone to continue his work. Father, I will miss you. I am sorry for the times that I failed you. I have been given a second chance, and I will use it to live up to the ideals you thought you saw in me. I will not let you down. Thank you. Eulogy for the Speaker of the Last City, given by Saint 14 on the day of the Speaker's memorial service. First thing, I'm glad they did a memorial service for him. That's kind of nice to hear.
Second of all, he was the memorial service given like well after he died?
Because Saint wasn't back.
Yeah, because Saint wasn't back.
Well, if you remember too, Saint had a vigil as well.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, if you think about it, they literally, I don't know if they did a secondary memorial or Saint was the one who organized the memorial.
It could have been. I was actually kind of thinking that it was the latter.
Because Saint would be the one who'd want to, at least.
And honestly, Saint would. I think that it's not that the others wouldn't want to, but Saint would have the tenacity to actually be like, no, we are doing this. And he doesn't have any
he's not a vanguard leader.
He doesn't have any political points that he has to worry about
anymore.
Well, I don't think he ever did. Or sorry, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even when he was the one day that he was a Vanguard commander, he didn't even care about political points, because that's why Osiris was made commander, is because Saint 14 was like, I don't care. You care about the city. And he just basically was like, no, this is the person who's going to get it done. So, I mean, that's not I would argue that it's not an uncommon approach that Saint would take to just do what he thinks is right. Which I mean that's part of his charm in a way too. Is if he thinks that it's right, he goes and he does it.
It is nice that we get a confirmation that what in the world, like how his relationship with the speaker actually developed in some ways, and
and we know the history of it. The speaker was present when Geppetto found Saint.
Right, and we know that now, but back in D1, we had no idea about that.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, yeah. So we got this is the second card that actually talks, or second entry that talks about their relationship, that clarifies their relationship.
Yes,
and just so I'm clear on this, Geppetto is Saint's ghost.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Which is amusing as all get out.
Yeah.
She also refers to all guardians as brother or sister.
I don't know, she reminds me of a sister. Blue, you know what I'm talking about as far as like sisters go.
Yeah, she
personality-wise.
I would also argue that she is probably where Saint gets the, like, Saint always has like that heavy religious overtones to the way he speaks. I think Geppetto is a large part of that. I think that because of the way Geppetto addresses everybody, and because of the way Geppetto speaks to people, and then combine that with Saint's, very do-good attitude and his upstanding attitude.
Right.
I do also find the name just, I can't let this go. The
patron saint of lost
causes. That is actually Jude, the apostle, in the Catholic faith. So it's and the thing that makes me smile about that is that Saint Jude, his attribute is a club, so which fits so well with Saint, like, which
is also something. I mean, if I don't know,
he was blunt. He was extremely blunt. Is the thing? It's like,
but the thing I find interesting, as far as like not necessarily taking the Catholic route, but just the idea of what a patron saint is and how saints get named. Granted, in our world, it's a little different as far as like the church establishing it, right? But in here, the patron saint of a lost cause, if the speaker is the patron saint of a lost cause, what's the lost cause and why is it lost? Like, why is this continuing to be lost? Is it just a commentary on the fact that our Vanguard has kind of lost their way and doing what they were supposed to be doing according to the speaker? I don't know. Does this card, am I reading too far into the naming conventions?
No, I don't think you are. Because remember, our first encounter with Saint in the timeline, he viewed the city as a lost cause. He was giving up. He gave up on the city.
Gotcha.
We were the ones that broke the timeline because Ghost showed him the hologram of the city in our time, and Ghost basically was like, "You make your choice, but this is the city that we come from, that you are, that you helped build." And that's why, after that whole kind of development in the story, I kind of had a moment where I'm like, Saint always gets this thing about, oh, he has so much, he's so faithful and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, Saint was unforgivably optimistic because he knew.
We cheated. We cheated and told him.
Air quote. It wasn't faith. It was knowledge. He knew what was going to happen. Now,
I do think you still have to have a certain amount of faith to continue
and I was going
to
to say,
believe
that goes back to my infuriating question about the martyr. If you take away the martyr's death, is it still worth, like, is that still same thing? If you show a believer, what they believe in is true, does that negate their faith? I would argue it doesn't. But, Saint operated in this realm of not just faith. He knew what was going to happen. And so when he says that he's the patron of lost causes, I kind of read that as that's a nod to his doubting moment. Because of that whole scene where we came in and he was furious. He had the huge, there was the huge comment about, he'd watched dregs eat children, and he lost his hope.
Oh, yeah. And despair.
And then, right. Yeah. And at that part, and he even says that. He says, I have been given a second chance and I will use it to live up to the ideals you thought you saw in me. And I really do like this particular
It's
part.
interesting how he is allowed to see his own faults and recognizes it through it.
I think the other nice thing, and I know everyone kind of chuckles at it, but I think the other nice thing is, especially with the card that we have with Eva, he's such a nice young man. You see, I think Saint actually exists, or he actually does have a degree of legitimate humility.
Oh, yeah. I think he is an absolutely humble person, but I don't think that's necessarily who he's always been. He may have been more headstrong prior to our guardian showing him the way or whatever.
We do get the clips of him talking with Osiris at the city and stuff, and he does seem he seems more deliberate for
also,
he's not a rush.
Just saying.
Right. Well, yeah.
Saint and Osiris
the
talking
argument
via fight.
He's a Titan, of course. Things get destroyed.
How Osiris goes with it.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, to a degree that I think that I don't think that was exclusive to Titans.
No.
When you have immortality, death means something different.
It only means
it's like a handshake, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's how. If you look at
it's how you say hello.
If you look at the Hive, they do similar things.
Hello, Slam's head. It's like hello.
I really do like. I like what you said too. Is that we get a confirmation that not only did they have a memorial for the speaker, but that Saint was able to experience that. He was able to, it's a very human thing, but he was able to have closure on that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's very important, because if he hadn't known about the Red War, that the speaker had died, who was going to tell him in the first place? He needed to know.
Right.
Yeah. So here's something I want to know from your guys' perspective. We talked about in the card that Saint talks as if he knows exactly what happened at Speaker's death in some ways. In so much as he went out the way he did. Let's see here. Speaker's last moments.
At the very least, we know that the speaker died bravely.
Died bravely. Yep. He died with the city, the people, and the traveler in his mind. Like, that is an assumption, but it's interesting that Saint has that much faith in the speaker. With as much faith as the speaker had in him, he also had that much faith back in the speaker, even though we learn kind of in that, what was the book with the speaker book? Confessions?
Mm-hmm. Constellations.
Constellations, thank you. That there are some doubts that the speakers have. Not necessarily doubtless or anything like that. That there is a curve to their endless enthusiasm, I guess, if you call it that. But, Blue, I know you are mid-map again. Do you want Grave or I to read it?
I can do, what is this?
Traveler's Judgment?
Yeah.
Or I guess it's Jack Queen. It's Jack Queen.
Okay.
So this one, if you notice the weapons that have lore, they're either Saint 14 weapons or Osiris weapons. It's kind
of a big thing to know.
Side note.
So this one is one of the Osiris weapons from Curse of Osiris. Says, an army meets and stands and falls. 3 nobles wage their hopeless war. In shifting madness, evil crawls. One stands above the battle's roar. From the Journals of Gr4veM1st. When I studied with Osiris, he would often tell me, I see failure in your future. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how strong I became, always, I see failure. I think now what he saw was Io. When I lost my light and retreated from a ruined city, when I arrived on Io to find only silence, I too thought I had failed. Even after Gaul's defeat and the Traveler's waking, I told my friends I thought the Traveler had tested me and that I had failed its test. But now I'm not so sure. Perhaps what Osiris saw for me, what I experienced on Io, was simply that I needed help. That most human of conditions. I needed to be in a fire team and to be a fire team for others in turn. How like Osiris to see that and name it failure. I won't make that mistake again. This is whatever your feelings about a Curse of Osiris DLC was. I really actually like the lore entries for the entire
Weapons.
Mostly because we get like this really cool poem that's going on throughout all of them.
The prophecies.
Because I think it's Jack Queen King is the third one, and then there's I can't remember what the other ones are, but there's 10 of them basically, and each one has 2 lines, and so I really, and they're all really, really fun to say. But I also really like how you can literally see the growth of her character in this entry. How she takes something that she had always perceived as a negative and as an attack on her person. And then she experiences what she experienced on Io, which was when she kind of lost her hope. And then she turns it, regardless of what Osiris actually did mean, because we still don't know what Osiris meant. But this is her interpretation, and she changes that interpretation. She changes her perception of what was said to make it into a positive thing for her. And again, I would reiterate, we don't know that that's what Osiris could have seen something completely different. But for her interpretation is just, I really like when the entries play on giving the characters, that ability to take up their world in a way that gives them power over something that, they didn't originally have power over.
It's a crucible of a different type.
Yes.
Crucible of their own emotions and their own steadfastness, I guess would be a way to put it.
Yeah. It's in a philosophical sense, it's a phenomenological process that you take information in and you interpret it in a way, and then you can, because you are the what's referred to in phenomenology as a co-creator of that reality, that also translates into, it's not a passive, you're not a passive observer. You are an active participant and a co-creator of that reality. And this is exactly what's happening in this entry is Ikora is growing to understand that she is not just, she doesn't just, it doesn't just act on her. She has a voice of her own. She has the ability to make her world what she needs it to be, to allow her to exist in it. And I really like that, because you see that growth in her character.
I think a lot of these entries are kind of pointing that direction about growth in characters. Gallant Charge, the fusion rifle. Grave, you want to jump on this one?
Sure. The flavor text for Gallant Charge reads, "There's a brief moment for the clash that lives between fear and certainty. Push through." The lore tab reads as follows: "How did they find me? Every direction I turn, there they are. Beady, phosphorescent red eyes of the hobgoblins fill the darkness around. I look for cover, but more infernal machines saw in, blocking my path. I'm outnumbered. As my luck has run out. The ants closer in pairs. 2 by 2, they prepare to disintegrate me. There's still more to do. For heads to break. My weapon charges. Then I move. I get a very... I don't know if you guys read... The Dark Knight Returns, the graphic novel. Batman has a very similar, inner monologue kind of thing. And in that he's more concerned about the fight, as it were. One of my favorites is, there's 7 different defenses from position, 3 of them disarm, 3 of them kill, the other hurts.
That's pretty common in the Batman novels, too.
Yeah, it's a very similar kind of inner monologue kind of thing. I'm thinking of this like a graphic, a bit from a comic. The war tab from Gallant Charge would definitely be a good sort of descriptor of what he's doing on a page. It's a very action-oriented.
I really like this flavor text because it has a double meaning for the name of the weapon versus the flavor text, right? So the Gallant Charge. A Gallant Charge is like a heroic charge, right? It's a charge that you take against terrible odds. The flavor text, there's a brief moment before the clash that lives between fear and certainty. Push through. It's the charge through that, yes. But there's also a charging, as in like a fusion rifle charge, where you pull together that energy and you pull together that stick-to-itness and you push through that way. So there's an actual charge of gathering together before you actually move through as well. And you see that in here as in this actual entry where he takes a breath. I breathe in. My weapon charges, I breathe in, I move. It's that intake of breath right before making you get ready to go. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like going into any battle. It's funny because I play, like we were talking about in the last episode, I play a lot of Crucible, and there are moments where I will hear my teammates take a breath before they charge into a roam. Like they take an audible intake of breath because there's that, bracing myself, be ready to go. So you get that double meaning there with that, which is kind of nice. Funny side note, I think that Saint 14 would be a more truthful storyteller about his exploits versus Shaxx. Just saying. Like, Shaxx, I feel would be like that boasting, like, I took on 3 women at the same time.
Do you not recall that difference of storytelling was the source of Shaxx being not believing? You didn't die once?
Also, you have Shaxx and Saint's conversation at the end of Devil's Ruin mission, where Shaxx ends up having to sing. Like,
freaking hilarious.
Saint, way better storyteller.
I had no idea until after you listened to that previous episode you two did, where the tune Shaxx is singing is actually the main theme to Shadow.
It is.
I can't unhear it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Also,
I can't unhear it.
Fun fact: I've heard multiple Titans sing it.
That
it is mainly Titans.
Not surprise me. Oh, it's their theme song now.
It is, and a Cheese Titan in particular.
It's an anthem.
Oh,
rallying cry.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right. So we have one more weapon to go through as far as lore goes, and this is another Osiris weapon. This is Infinite Paths 8, the pulse rifle. There are a few other weapons I want to pull into this that I don't have into show notes here in a second, but this one I want to go through first. And this is one of the weapons that Blue was talking about earlier that has that very poetic, if you want to call them prophecies, if you want to call it Osiris's journal, Dear Diary, whatever. Osiris writes diary entries like Shakespeare writes diary entries.
Dear Diary, they sowed the first.
They sowed the first, now reap the last. Forever narrows to a line, where light will fade into the past. When all's converted, nothing shines. From the writings of Brother Vance. Oh, guess what? Brother Vance wrote that. Dear Diary, I miss Osiris.
No. The flavor text Osiris wrote.
Did not know it's me.
The flavor text is
flavor text
Osiris.
is-
From the writings of Brother Vance is the below.
Okay. Okay. Just, ugh. Brother Vance.
Boy.
Anyone? Here we go. You ready? Anyone can see that if they just truly look. Osiris preserve us. I am blind and I recognize the signs of his lost prophecies coming to bear. But none of us, not even his most faithful, have seen the things Osiris has seen. We in the lighthouse follow a man haunted by visions of apocalypse, yet doesn't turn away. Osiris doesn't close his eyes. He doesn't even blink. He put aside his vanguard duties, his students, his very life to bear this curse. And why? Because it is the only way to become strong enough to save you from the enemy. You in the city who condemn Osiris, who cast him out and curse his name, do you not understand that the prophecies are curse enough? Oh, Brother Vance. I cannot wait. I cannot wait till we do the trials and tribulations.
Oh,
Yeah,
And just
because Vance has actually got some weight behind what he does.
he does, but he's still kind of he's easy to make fun of.
He is easy to make fun of. I will concede that, but I think that a lot of people dismiss him because of that. And I think that's a mistake.
Was he this easy to make fun of when we first met him in D1?
No, because
No.
we didn't have much. We didn't have much on him. I mean,
Also,
it's
the
hard,
tone
right?
changed.
Well, because a lot of
significantly.
people had opinions about where he was coming from that
Mm-hmm.
turned out to not be true. So I think there's a lot of misguided frustration at that too. Because I remember when that first got revealed, a lot of people were really upset about that, and it's like,
Right.
That was never specified. That was all assumption.
Vuru pointed out in chat, and I tend to agree with him, that the title of the expansion, Curse of Osiris, actually is called out in this card.
I would agree with that.
And because you have the curse of the prophecies in his mind type thing that's called out multiple times. I find that this card, this entry, this weapon there's not really a pattern with the weapons that they chose, but in some ways there are, because you have the Osiris weapons versus the Saint 14 weapons. And this one in particular is the one that kind of stands out as the oddball, because the other ones are all about the overcoming of things. And in some ways, Vance just seems to be trying to defend Osiris over and over and over again, which is typical Vance, but...
Right, but I don't want to spoil Trials and Tribulations,
Yeah.
but that is very interesting given what is in Trials and Tribulations.
Correct.
That he is such, even now, such an adamant defender of Osiris. Given the ending of Trials and Tribulations, that is an explicitly, or yeah, it's a very, very interesting turn for Vance.
Mm-hmm. All right, Blue. I have one card I want you to read before you do
Okay, what's up?
this one. The end of the story. Well, the end of one story, the beginning of the other.
So this is for Perfect Paradox. Flavor text is, a tale that's different from the rest, the thread unfurls against the clocks. The one the speaker loved the best must have a perfect paradox. I never found Osiris, but I've killed enough Vex to end a war, and they in turn struck a fatal blow. They completed a mind with a sole function to drain the light from me. It worked very well. Don't worry, not that you worry much. It took them centuries to build, keyed to the unique frequency of my light, and I sit atop its shattered husk. I mourn that I will never reach the heights you have. To me, you represent everything a guardian can become. Yours is a thriving city, so different from mine. My whole 14th life I fought to make my city yours. I never finished. All I have left is this weapon. The Cryptarchs say you crafted it yourself, built it out of scraps and light and sheer will inside the infinite forge. I'll make sure it finds its way back to you. When you gave it to me, I swore I would make it my duty to follow your example. I'm still trying. Saint 14.
Okay. So.
I love this card.
I love this card too.
I like it too. It's great.
But this card, I mean, it is a paradox card. It is absolutely continuing to be a paradox because we forge it back in Curse of Osiris / get it from Saint 14, but also give it back to Saint 14 last season during Season of Dawn.
Which we have to reforge it even if we still had it.
Right.
Small bone to pick. Small bone to pick with that.
I literally brought it back from my collections.
Right. That's what I was like. I'm like, oh, I still have this. I have this. Wait, what? Like, I have to go retrieve it? Like, no, like, it all seriously though. Like, I understand why, but it was one of those like eye rolls of like, oh god, game mechanics.
Yeah.
Right.
Things.
It is kind of nice to see the moment, though, that they talk about in this card.
Yes. Well, and we get to see a couple different moments, too.
Right. We see the moment where we hand him the weapon, because we're actually participating in that, which I found that was my favorite of all of Season of Dawn, was that mission. I played that mission multiple times, with as many people as I could convince to go in there with me, who had not run it, because it was a one-time mission, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, one-time per character, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you could not go back and do it again, but you could if you had somebody who hadn't finished it yet.
Or if you had a character that didn't do it yet, because it was one time per character.
So, yeah, I loved that mission. It was a lot of fun. It kind of set the tone for the season, I thought, really well, but you get that moment of us handing him the gun and basically reestablishing his faith in Guardians, right? That's the whole point of that one.
Yeah, and he becomes the patron saint of lost causes.
And then he becomes kind of the legend that we follow in some ways, who somehow followed us. We're just the dog chasing its own tail at this point, right?
Yeah, it's This is why I hate time travel.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you want to get really meta about this, Saint 14 kind of presents Bungie in a way, and how we look up the Saints is kind of like how we, the players, look at Bungie in a certain way. And the Saint has this whole thing about how we inspired him. In a similar way, we inspire Bungie.
It's true. It's true.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird parallel.
No, but I mean, it's an accurate thing, because I mean, and you can make that argument with any community. I mean, any community, really. You know. But I think that's a fair thing, and I think that also really does a service to explain the sense that in game a lot of, or the Guardian would probably have towards Saint 14 upon the revelation of what we learned was like, this thing, and even Ghost kind of voiced it too. He's like, this is Saint 14, like this is the Saint 14. You see that with Eva as well. And again, it was just that thing where it was the realization, never meet your heroes kind of thing. It's like, well, not only did we meet our hero, no, we found out that we inspired our hero to become our hero. It's that, oh, you're the hero of the city because of something we did, not something, and I think that's something there as well.
That is a nice thing. I did not put in any of the exotic quest weapons because we had Devil's Ruin, we had Symmetry, there was one more. Bastion. Oh gosh, I am so not liking that gun right now.
Everyone sleeps on Bastion, but
everybody's using Bastion.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
it's like a scruff.
Bastion, Symmetry, and Devil's Ruin technically in Season 9.
Right, and Devil's Ruin was a really fun quest. A lot of people gave Bungie grief for that one. I actually kind of enjoyed the laid-back quest.
Yeah, I liked it too. But I felt that it was missing a step. Like if we had like an additional step where we had to maybe complete a few strikes, maybe do a few matches, Crucible or Damper or something, then maybe like leading up to it, maybe I'd be better with it. But I'm fine with what we got. Plus, Devil's Ruin is a pretty neat sidearm.
Right. As far as lore tie-ins to that, here's my question / theory going into it. We had two weapons. Devil's Ruin makes sense. That is literally a sidearm Fallen type thing. Saint 14 was known to be the guy who went after all the Fallen. He took out lots and lots and lots of Fallen before he went and took out lots and lots of X. That was what he was known for. But the Bastion is Saint's weapon as well. That also gets a lot of description. But Symmetry, how much of Symmetry is tied into Saint 14 versus Symmetry, the philosophy, Symmetry, the
Ulantan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about. I think Symmetry is a Ulantan thing.
But like that being pulled into this season in particular, granted, it was a weapon that was not tied to any of the quests that I remember. Like it was just a weapons quest that dropped. There was not a themed season quest.
It was part of the season pass.
Right.
Like,
but
if you were part of season pass, like you instantly just got it.
That guy was real thirsty for you, Blue. Oh, you emoted on him. Rude. Rude.
Dude, I dodged a Sentinel Titan super enough and then had a punch out with a Titan and won. Yes, I emoted on him.
Flippy knife.
I'll give you that one.
I was so scared. I was like, he's going to kill me.
if I was in this match, I would have been like, yep, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to respect that. And then I'm going to do the same to you once I
Oh, yeah, no, that's totally, turnabout's totally fair play.
Mm-hmm. But, okay, we should wrap up. Just any final thoughts on the topic of the weapons for this season? Any final theories that we are getting into before we close out?
I think we did a pretty good job talking about like season 9, especially. Like there's a lot of things that were explained for Saint that dealt with a lot of questions that we've had. I mean, Bungie did a really good job with season 9 or Season of Dawn in addressing a lot of open-ended questions that we've had for a very long time concerning Saint and his relationship with various different figures. Now that being said, that could possibly be, I don't remember off the top of my head the lore entry for Symmetry, but that could maybe be a nod to that connection that you're talking about, Green, is, Ulantan did technically exist around the same time. So it could be. And again, that's me just kind of trying to spitball there because I don't remember.
Did Andal Brask exist around the same time?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yes. Andal was.
He wasn't. Not at the time of Saint 14. That was
he was at Tallulah Fairwind was the Vanguard, but Andal was probably around. He just wasn't a Vanguard mentor.
Tallulah has some strong words about Andal, so I mean he was definitely around and known.
Okay, so it was Tallulah, Saint, and Osiris that were the Vanguard of their time, basically.
It was
Saint Osiris, Tallulah Fairwind.
Well, it was Saint.
Saint was commander of the Vanguard, the Titan Vanguard.
Yeah, he was the Vanguard commander, and then he gave that title to Osiris when he stepped down.
So we didn't have a Warlock Vanguard.
So they had Saint, Osiris, and Tallulah. And then Saint after one day, Saint stepped down because he was doing something. He went on I think that's when he went on his crusade against the Fallen. He passed the title of commander to Osiris. Zavala was put in place. And then when Osiris was exiled, the title was shifted to Zavala. And because Osiris was exiled, I'm not sure. I think that was a vote of the consensus that it moved to Zavala. Because that's when Ikora was also brought in. And then at that time, I'm trying to think, I don't think Tallulah was still Vanguard at that point. I think that was also, Tallulah had already died? Because didn't Tallulah die in the Ahamkara
the hunter. She had to die before Andal took charge.
Okay.
Why are hunters never made Vanguard commander? Just gonna let that question. I'm just gonna let that question sit there for a second. Go read Tommy's matchbook, and you will understand why there is not a Vanguard commander that's a hunter.
Lord.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So glad that we're running down.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Anyway.
Prayer requests, shoutouts.
I'm gonna shout out my friend AJ. I don't know if he's still around. He might have dropped off because it's getting kind of late. Ryan, he's also been listening. Hey Ryan. Also, my clan, Moon Cowboys, I already shouted them out in the last episode. But they're chill. Look us up on Bungie, on Moon Cowboys. We got a Discord server that we use to organize our various activities in. We don't raid a whole lot, but when we do, it's really fun. We do nightfalls, we do trials, we do all sorts of stuff. And that's really about it. And I also want to shout out my friends in a separate group, Vault. This is all part of the same group that AJ and Ryan are in. Vault, Vinyl, Dice Master, everyone in Haven. My Skype group. They've been my rock years and years and years.
Cool.
And I wouldn't have anywhere near an internet footing that I have without them. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I have two shout outs. First and foremost, shout out to, and I totally just blanked on one of them, but the other one I absolutely have at the front of my head. Shout out to Sleep. No, shout out to Introverted Tenacity. Because the situation and everything, just being an introvert, it already makes it a little easier and steadfast. So be the rock for the extroverted people in your lives. Be that voice of reason. It's a thing. Both Blue and I are married to extroverts.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a stressful couple of weeks. So introverted tenacity for the win. And then second shout out actually goes to a Bungie dev. Whoever the Bungie dev that created the green glasses emotes, thank you for making the Green-Eyed Music Lover emote. I love you. It is my Trials preview emote. I put on the green sunglasses, and even better, not just the green sunglasses putting on. It has a remove the sunglasses, and you do a nice little nod to the person in front of you. It is amazing.
Nice.
Thank you. I am Green-Eyed Music Lover, and I have green sunglasses, and I am never taking them off. Blue.
I just want to say thank you to Current Events for teaching me that my lifestyle is called quarantine. I think that's probably been one of my favorite memes to have come out of this whole debacle
situation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is I saw that and I'm like, yeah, that's a 100% accurate to my realization to this entire event. Everyone, but no, and just a big shout out to everyone who's taking the time to be mindful of what's going on and to be careful and stay safe, because of those of us who are not able to safely wander around. They really appreciate it. I know I've seen a lot of chatter on Twitter and also in some Discords that I lurk in about people who are immunosuppressed or are under medication for that. It suppresses their immunization systems. It's those people that we're trying to help, when they talk about flattening the curve and stuff like that. So big shout out to everyone who's being mindful of that. Other than that, I really just, want to say again, if you guys need anything from any of us on the Focus Fire team, we are always in our Discord server. If you want to private message us there, or if you feel like you are more active on Twitter, feel free. I know I have my private messages open. I know Green does too.
Yep, okay. You can DM me.
I'm like, I think Green does. I don't know. But
social distancing hipsters, we are absolutely that black flag. We have got it.
I resent the term, but yeah,
Hipster?
I can't argue with it.
Just say we were doing it before.
Dude, I was keeping away from you before it was cool to keep away from you. Okay,
I mean, all of my strongest friendships are through the internet, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You're all imaginary people.
I mean, not wrong.
You're all just words on a screen.
Oh, man. Well,
how's it feel?
Okay.
So anyways, thank you for your time. And until next time, remember, with wisdom we conquer, stand strong, stand tall, and keep exploring. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusedFireChat. Links to all our episode archives can be found at www.thelorenetwork.com. Please be sure to email us at focusedfirechat@gmail.com with any comments and or questions for the team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.